This conference will now be recorded.
There we go.
And it's 7 o'clock.
And your little thing shows that you're recording, because mine on my screen it doesn't show this recording, but I guess her voice lets us know.
Yeah.
If this works out better, because we have more people sitting there than sitting in my chair, if it works out better that you guys, kind of run the ebb and flow of the meeting, because you'll be more in touch with the conversation, we can, give you the duties of Robert's rules for this meeting. But so call the meeting to order. It's 7 o'clock sharp on March 7th. And agenda, our first thing on the agenda is public comments. Anybody here for public comment? Take that as a no.
Oh, Mike Potts.
Have Mike and Kim.
Mike and Kim are coming, but move on to the minutes.
Yep. Okay, so approval of the draft minutes for January.
You got my typo? No. All right. Anyone want to vote? Or I moved. Moved to approve. Thank you.
We need a second.
Ira.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
All right. Opposed? Abstention? I can't vote, so I am not physical there. Okay, so the minutes are passed for people that are in the room with us. If you wonder why we aren't approving minutes from a February meeting, we had no February meeting. So this is why the January minutes are just being approved now. All right, so that's done. Okay, applications. I saw Cindy is there. So 289 Front Street. Cindy will go through the process again for your original application. Is there anything you want to add to that? No. Okay. So we've already taken a vote on the finding of fact. If we look in the records, we had a unanimous for 5 members of OHPC, all there physically on September 27th. So the finding of fact, I don't believe we need to re-vote. So that's already passed. If there's discussion from this point forward, we would need that before we voted on the certificate of appropriateness. Are there any discussion points? Anything on that?
Does everybody remember it?
Nothing's changed.
Right. We haven't gotten any more new information or any new update on the application. So then the application as it stands is still replacing the entire porch with a concrete block. Well, not block, but a poured concrete solid piece.
Yes,
Okay.
for the base.
Right. So just to be clear, we're talking about a 38-foot by 8-foot deep by 4-foot high solid
No.
block of concrete.
We're talking 38 feet wide, 10 foot off the house, and 2 foot off the ground.
10 foot off the house. Okay.
2 foot off the ground.
All right, Phoebe, what I'm gonna do, just to make sure we're all clear on this, if you have the certificate in front of you, to reread the finding of fact that we already approved. Could you do that? So off the certificate, right?
Yeah. Along with the size that we just added, or not?
That size is the original size.
Right, the original size.
No, that's all original stuff. If she's not changing anything, just read the finding of fact that's already approved before we do the final vote on the certificate.
So what we have for the facts case is remove existing porch base, replace it with concrete, replace the wood flooring, the stairs, the skirting with stamped concrete, stairs retaining their original position and size, repair and repaint wood porch pillars, balusters, and railing as needed, replace existing wood skirting with concrete foam liner in a stamped stone pattern of Georgetown ashlar, replace the decking with wood stamped concrete, replace the stairs with the wood stamped concrete, repair and repitch the hip roof to remediate leaking issues. Roof pitch not to exceed 3 inches so as not to interfere with existing windows. The roof will be re-roofed with shingles to match the existing house or half-lap roof to match the existing. Replace ceiling with wood in kind, replace slate sidewalk to the fence with concrete. That's what I have.
Okay. And as a reminder with the whole process that we inquired with SHPO about replacing the current wooden porch with concrete, and their recommendation was no concrete, that it's a replace in kind. So we got their opinion on it, and our local guidelines also state repair in kind if it's a wooden porch, to repair that and try to save all historic elements that are in existence and do a repair and replace in kind with the porch, not concrete. In fact, our guidelines actually mentioned not replacing with concrete. So it's up to a vote. Any further discussion?
No, the only thing I think I'd like to add in here is the exact size of the porch, the dimensions, as you mentioned, the 38 by 10 by 2.
Okay.
And that's my application.
So if we do that, we have to vote again. We have to vote as an addendum because we've already approved the finding of fact. We've already approved the language of that. So if you're willing to do that.
Yeah.
I'll make that motion to approve the finding of fact as addended today.
Okay.
Amended.
Amended. We need a second on that.
Second.
Okay. Before a final vote, so read the statement that you're putting in, Phoebe.
Yeah, just a second.
Yep.
And it should also be 3 inches above the current pitch, not a 3-inch pitch.
Not to exceed 3 inches. So
3 additional inches, not 3 inches. Because it's already got a pitch of more than 3 inches. So it should be additional. And it was also stated under the windows. And that isn't in there for some reason.
So I've got roof will be pitched an additional 3 inches so as not to interfere with existing windows.
That's in the original statement, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's in the original application, not in the original finding of facts.
No, it was in the last finding of facts.
It was in the last finding?
It was worded slightly differently.
Okay.
So. Slightly different wording. All right, starting again. Remove existing porch base, replace it with concrete. Porch is 38 feet by 10 feet by 2 feet. Replace wood flooring, stairs, and skirting with stamped concrete. Stairs retain their original position and size. Repair and repaint porch pillars, balusters, and railing as needed. Replace existing wood skirting with concrete foam liner in stamped stone pattern Georgetown ashlar. Replace decking with wood stamped concrete. Replace stairs with wood stamped concrete. Repair and repitch hipped porch roof to remediate leaking issues. Roof will be pitched an additional 3 inches so as to not interfere with existing windows. Roof will be re-roofed with shingles to match existing house or half-lap roofing to match existing. Replace ceiling with wood in kind. Replace slate sidewalk to fence with concrete. All right.
Okay, so what we need to do is you need to rescind the original motions. I'm suggesting that you rescind your motion because that statement wasn't complete when you made the motion. So we need to make a new motion on the new wording of the finding of fact. Which would mean Cookie and Jeff, you made those motions, right?
So Jeff made it.
I made the motion to approve.
All right, so you need to rescind those motions to start to be Robert's rules here.
So I'd either accept that as a friendly amendment to my motion or rescind my motion.
Correct. Either way.
These are all amended finding of facts, though.
Yep.
Yes, so we're going to vote on finding of facts.
Right. So you're going to have to vote on that again.
Right.
Vote.
So based on what we just amended for the
Yep.
finding of fact, these are the facts we all agree on for the
Right.
situation.
Okay.
So
Time to vote.
friendly amendment.
All right.
And I second.
And we've got Jeff making the first, You're the second, and our vote
Now vote. All in favor?
of approving the finding of facts?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. All opposed? One abstain? Okay. So moved. All right. Now with that updated, it's time to vote on the certificate of appropriateness. And if there's not comment on that, we can go to the voting process on that. So I need a motion to approve the COA.
My only comment on this would be a concrete that big, that solid on that place would not at all be appropriate for where you are on Front Street, the neighborhood you're in. And I would be also concerned because you're in a floodplain, that much solid concrete in that space is going to affect your neighbors, and it also may sink and not be stable, because that will definitely affect the environment around your house. Yeah, that much solid concrete stuck in front of your house may sink down. I don't think it will.
You don't understand how construction works. It's a wall.
I think,
It gets filled, compressed with dirt, and then they put a 4-inch, like sidewalk, over top of that dirt that's 2 foot off the ground.
It's going to be a lot of weight and a lot of space in the middle of the place on front.
It'll also protect the front of the house from the river.
as we spoke to other applicants, she's gonna need to apply for a floodplain permit as well.
Yeah.
So by building something solid, the one porch right now is open underneath. I know it's pretty close to the grade. This would be something solid, so she would have to comply with floodplain permit requirements, would be to remediate the solid block that she's putting somewhere else, on her site. So that would be something you have to, consider, would be necessary. I mean, I do recall we had a lot of back and forth about the roof pitch and a number of things. And I know we had shared with you a number of details for porches, things that you might want to consider, how the base, the concrete works, the edge, skirting, maybe some piers underneath the columns, so it looks like a masonry porch and what might have been there quite a while ago. And at least the concrete that you had submitted, the details didn't show anything sort of like that. And it's it's a character defining feature of your property. It's the front. No matter where it's located in the village, it's in the front.
But it doesn't have those characters currently.
What do you mean?
It's been altered over the years.
That porch
It's true.
it's just cheap black on the base of that porch. You want me to replace it in kind? Or like, just replace the rotten boards I was told?
Yeah,
Just replace the rotten boards.
just replace the rotten boards.
And Cindy, what's allowable now, and this came right from the New York State Parks, so SHPO, is that they're allowing in historic properties to replace decking on porches, that you can replace it with the synthetic products that are on the market. It doesn't necessarily have to be wood, it has to be wood-like. So it allows for like a Trex product. And if you drive around town, we've approved a couple of projects already allowing for the Trex product to replace the wood. So anyway, that's more facts for you in a discussion. But I think the question at hand is if you want to modify your original application, which
No,
doesn't sound like you do.
no.
Okay. So I would request a motion right now to vote on the certificate of appropriateness. We need a motion to vote on it. So anybody want to make that motion?
I just wanted to say, there's ways to repair the porch without completely ripping it off and replacing it with concrete. There are ways to do that are low maintenance and keep the integrity of an old porch.
It would look way better than it does now, paving. And it would look way better than a lot of porches on Front Street look. Where people have painted them 2 years ago and now they're repainted.
Regular basis when you have an old porch. I do mine every year.
You went on paper?
That's,
Well, it's my house and I feel, I pay taxes in this village, a lot of taxes in this village. And if I want to fix my porch in a certain way, I should be able to do that. And I'm not cheaping out on it, I'm trying to make the house better. And everything I've done to that house, you guys can agree or not, the house is way better than it was sitting there empty for 6 years.
yeah, I can definitely agree with that. And I think the repairs that you've done so far have been great. The stickler with me on this porch is, I think you could repair it in a way that keeps the integrity of the porch and makes it low maintenance for you without completely replacing it with concrete. So,
I don't agree. I don't think Trex is a good product, for one. I have Trex on my back porch. I hate it. I want low maintenance, solid, don't have to worry about rot.
yeah.
You don't have to worry about it warping.
Based on there's no change to the application that we reviewed on September 27th, to make a motion to not approve COA for 289 Front Street. The right address.
So you're making a motion to not approve the COA? Or do you want to make a motion so we can take a vote on it?
What was a?
The motion should be, right now, the motion should be to bring this to a vote. We've already been in discussion. We had discussion, lengthy discussion on September 27th in that meeting. And, we talked about this. It sounds like Cindy and the property owner is interested in just voting officially on her original plan. So we need a motion to bring this to a vote. And I can't do it. I can't,
So moved.
Okay.
I move that we vote on the.
okay. And we need a second to bring this to a vote. Is there a second? Okay, Jeff's second. Okay. So all in favor of of approving the certificate of appropriateness, say aye. All opposed?
Nope.
Okay, so it did not pass. Okay, and one abstention. That's me. All right. So next thing on the agenda is 187 Main Street. Kathy and James Henke. You're up.
I only made 4 copies.
Oh,
we could share.
excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
These are the windows and the lights for the building.
Yes.
The front door was already replaced in kind, it's the exact same door.
That we already approved. This time, let me get your application.
And Kathy and Jim, I understand this is just a modification of your certificate. So you're modifying the scope of the work or one of the materials that you're using, correct?
Just confirming when we actually picked out which window, just to make sure it
Okay.
was okay.
Okay.
We wanted to see the lanterns if we decide to use lanterns out front.
Right.
Yep. Okay.
There was some question about the lighting at the time.
Yeah.
We hadn't decided anything there.
Upside down.
So this sign lighting, you've got
Oh,
the gooseneck.
sorry.
The gooseneck sign lighting, is that gonna be the one over the main door?
Over the side of the, what is it? Parapet? Is that what it's called? Where arches
Arches.
come over
Yeah,
to light the sign. Parapet.
Transom?
No,
No, parapet, top of the.
I I think that's the official term.
And it's
The wall
black,
above the
right?
roof,
Is-
yeah.
So is our role, because I'm new at this stuff, is our role to say that this is appropriate? Or not
Parapet.
appropriate, whatever?
That's
Right.
Parapet.
I see that Meg sent across the COA.
Yes.
Did she send across the original application? What is the other work?
No.
What is this gonna look like?
Well, in the COA, what's it say?
It was quite comprehensive for the rest of the stuff.
Add sconces to each side of the entrance.
Right.
This is the one that we were gonna put something on the roof, right? It's for the
Yeah.
Right.
deck or
It
something
had
like
the
that?
deck
Okay,
on
so
the
I was
roof.
not a member at that time, but I sat in on the meeting. Just wondering.
And everything else got approved. We just had some question about the windows and because they hadn't been picked out yet.
So if the materials that you folks have brought with us are, if back then we wanted information on when you selected the windows and the lighting, to bring that back to us. And our only charge now is to make sure that satisfies the original certificate that was issued. And so if it does, I don't think it requires any vote. It requires a thank you for following through and, for checking to make sure the materials going forward are appropriate. And what we'll do is we'll send a message to code in case they're concerned with that. I'll send a message to them about your choice of materials. Does that make sense? So unless you guys disagree, I don't think there's anything to vote on here. It's just it's property owners doing the right thing. We asked them to come back to us when they chose the materials to make sure they satisfied the historic nature of their project. And if it does, I don't think we need to put that into any record. We just have to acknowledge through our minutes, Phoebe, that they brought to us, according to our original approval of the COA, the appropriate materials were used. Something. All right. Does that make sense?
It does, yes. Can you just confirm, what is this window made out of? It says in that COA fixed aluminum.
Yeah.
Nowhere do I see on this information does it say what it's made out of. It says
It's wood.
clad on the inside, standard
Oh,
clad.
fine.
Yeah, it's wood.
Fine.
So is this gonna
Wood
be
with aluminum clad, right?
Yeah,
Isn't that what it's supposed to be?
Right, yes.
Yeah.
It just didn't say it on here at all. I just wanted to confirm.
because we have the metal doors in the front.
Right.
Doors in the front are gonna be metal. Exterior doors with window lights, sconces to each side of the entrance. Flat water roof, open on curved rooftop. Electric meter moved. It's aluminum railing on top, new patio railing on the roof cover. Yep,
The sconces fall off it, right?
I've got replaced front windows with fixed powder coated aluminum windows in the same size. So they're wood with aluminum coating on the outside. We're good. Looks like it's all covered in the existing finding of facts. Thank you for bringing in.
Yes.
We should have been completed. So we don't need an addendum to the existing COA.
I think just to acknowledge in the minutes, Phoebe, I think that's all we need in this case is just an acknowledgement in the minute that, according to their COA, they were asked to, give us specifics about those products, and they did
Yep.
on March 7th, 2024.
Getting that started. Thank you very much.
Thanks. I think that's all we need on that. All right. What's next? What's
Next on the
next?
agenda, we have the awning. The awning that we were talking about earlier, that's gonna go over the infection connection.
Skip over 275.
I missed it.
Ah,
Oh, you're right, I did. I skipped over elevation landscape.
I don't want Kim mad.
Well, I think we have Mike. Do we have Kim there?
Yeah, Mike and
Mike's here.
Kim and.
Mike and Kim. That's probably going to be a pretty long discussion. So can we jump ahead? If that's okay. jump ahead to the lakes, 28 Lake Street, and that's a modification. It should say 28 Lake Street, not 1. It should be 2024-0307-1, 28 Lake Street, Matt Romano.
Yep.
And this is, so it's his building, so I put him down as a name, but I see that Michelle and Ron are there to represent. So what do you have to say for yourselves? What do you want to say about your awning, your sign?
We are hoping to do the exact replica of the one that's over the barber shop now. It's gonna be a
Yep.
little longer from our storefront with the same exact material, just with our logo and not the barber shop.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, that was
All
my
right.
understanding for the application as well. It's gonna be the same
Yeah,
size as the other one,
And
so
it's
it'll
gonna be
match.
attached to the T11, whatever the wood is on the building.
Yeah, the T111.
And not the, and not the brick, it'll be directly on the wood. It is made of aluminum and polycarbonate glass, right? Will be covered with the vinyl, white vinyl, and then we'll have our design on it, which is a hand drawing of the husband's handiwork.
And then it'll all be hung with U brackets, so they're easily
It'll be,
removable. And it's very light, so it won't be too much.
when we finally close in 20 years, it can be removed.
The application didn't include any photos at all, not even of Matt Romano. Do you have anything handy of what the barbershop's got now?
Well, actually, the,
The barbershop keeps changing, so I just want to confirm what they
No,
have
they
today or
been the same
yesterday.
for
Barber shop's been there for like,
yeah, do you have any pictures of it? Because
I could go up.
we had a description of what's to be put on it.
Right. We have it all, before the meeting,
Yeah.
Jim shared with us an old photo of this hand printing cloth.
The old one.
It was there.
I think
Yeah, no, that's
it's
fine.
currently down in
Yeah,
the
I
back
didn't
because
see
he is
Right.
I mean, I know what it looks like.
Yeah, right.
It's good there.
So that's the one that we put last.
Oh, it's funny, I must have seen it on Google Maps.
We did
the
put that
same
one.
exact setup. It's
Right.
What the hell is it doing?
already built.
Yeah,
It's not you pay for it.
I'm not putting vinyl on it.
and it's the same, it's gonna be the same vinyl, thick
Yes.
vinyl sheeting that they use on billboards.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, and it'll just have our logo with some spear or circles or jimmies, whatever they're called.
Polka dots, I call them.
Yeah, sure, whatever they are.
She smashed our purple letters on a white background with multicolored polka dots on the edges. It's blue letters? Thank you, okay, we'll make that change.
I know they weren't yellow.
No yellow on white.
Jim,
Maybe it's blue and yellow.
Jim, you had mentioned that the commission had approved what's on the barber shop now. Do you have any idea when that was? I think it was
It was pre, I think, all of us except me. I think it was with Nadine. We were still over in the old building, and I remember we had lengthy discussion about the awning, and we ultimately, through the discussion, is what I have to share with you is that we approved that, and if I recall, we actually approved the barber pole at the same time because that's perceived as a sign, and because all of it kept the nature of the buildings and the awnings on the street, we approved that. So it'd be very difficult for us not to approve this one because it's exactly the same on the same building.
And I was mentioning to Jeff earlier, there's another awning in the downtown area that's very similar in size to this one. It's the one that's on on Laura's shop, the bookstore. It doesn't come out as far as the other awnings on Lake Street.
On the Lake Street side.
Yeah, most of the other awnings on Lake Street are actually 6 feet instead of 4 feet, so they come further out over the sidewalk. This one's only 4 feet tall, or 4 feet wide,
Yeah.
and 4 feet tall.
But the
It is 4 feet
the
tall.
depth would be the same as the.
Right, so it's more like the one.
It's actually the complete angle, everything is
Mhm.
exactly.
So when you're walking, you can stay away from the rain.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one doesn't quite cover you from the rain. Doesn't quite. And the only difference between this one and what's on the existing bookstore right now is the existing bookstore has the old canvas.
Right, which complies with guidelines.
Yeah.
The material they're talking about does not comply with guidelines. So the reason why I'm asking is because I was not part of the commission, so I'm inclined to abstain, knowing that we need a quorum here at the meeting.
Yeah.
Oh, but it's half plus So it's only 3. Okay. Just curious, want to know how to, not hold people up
See, I'm inclined to approve it
in their business.
because it's very similar. The only difference in the awnings is that material.
Reality, which
Yeah.
is important.
Which I know.
But when they put their logo on the awning, it becomes a sign. So it has to comply with sign requirements.
We don't have anything about vinyl for signs. We use vinyl for signs for a lot.
Right.
Yeah. The only difference between this and like what's on the bookstore right now is the bookstore's canvas. And this would be the new type of canvas, I guess you'd call it. Cheap vinyl.
A composite material. We
It's
said.
a composite material.
A composite material. That's right.
Yes.
It's a lot lighter. It's easier to wash.
Yeah.
There's much older. Now, there is no lighting from the inside. It's not going to glow like the Owego originals.
No, we're not glowing.
Yeah. Interior lighting. Any more discussion?
Anything else? So Phoebe, did you write up a scope of the work?
Yes, I did write up a finding of facts.
Okay.
Getting the right minutes here. All right, let me read what I've got. Finding of facts. Tell me if there's anything that sounds weird to you. So I've got for the finding of facts, to replace existing awning over the shop window and door. Awning will be aluminum frame, 4 foot tall by 4 foot deep by 19 feet long, which matches matching the length of the existing awning. The awning style will be a straight angle and will match existing awning on the barber shop next door. Awning will not have interior illumination and will be sheet vinyl tarp with confection connection in blue letters on a white background and multicolored polka dots on the edges. Anything else?
That says it matches the existing one, but there's no existing on it.
Well,
It's
it's
matching the barber shop
Well,
existing.
no, it's matching the size of the original awning,
the original awning
the
that's on
original
the
cloth
building.
awning that was on there.
Oh, was past tense. Okay,
Yes,
yeah.
we took it down because it.
I just walked past today. It was like, okay.
Yeah, both of them are off right
Okay,
now.
got it.
Yeah, that's why Cookie, that's why I sent out, and I know I was very late on this, but I sent out an image that showed their old awning, the canvas one that was removed, just because they said the same size as the old. So you have a picture of that if you take a look.
Because it's going to go over the window and
And the door.
And then you'll have a little tiny space and then the other.
It'll have the
same.
apartment doorway would be the only place that there's not an awning.
Yeah.
So it'll have our awning in the
So if you go
apartment
into the
doorway.
apartment, you're going to get rained on.
And they're gonna get wet going into the apartment.
That's because they're gonna come into our store to get dry.
There you go.
That's it. I'll add something because Jeff's concerned. It doesn't show up necessarily in our guidelines, but I can remember back the discussion we had when Matt applied. Actually, I'm not sure it was Matt who applied for the awning over the barber shop. Might have been his dad, but that we brought information in on historic renovations to other buildings in in other municipalities, and it was a common thing to replace the canvas that doesn't have a long life with aluminum awnings, as long as they kept nature's, like the barbershop pole and so on. So that's my memory back then, that the material may not have been in the guidelines, but the nature of what historic renovation means, that we accepted it back then, if that makes any sense.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So do I have a motion to approve the finding of facts?
I'll move.
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? And one abstention. All right. So now, any further discussion on issuing the certificate? If not, we need a motion to approve the certificate of occupancy for 28 Lake Street awning.
Appropriate.
Need a motion?
But What did you just say?
He said occupancy, it's
Oh,
certificate of.
certificate of occupancy.
Yeah, I do that all the time.
Yes, I'll so move.
Second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Opposed? One. And one abstain. All right. So that certificate, then Phoebe will send me a copy of that. I will sign it and have it in the office tomorrow, DPW, so that code can go forward and enforce anything it has to do with the sign. But it shouldn't be an issue because there's one sitting right next to it that was already approved. Okay, great. All right, way to go. Way to make the connection, confections. Sorry, I could not deny myself that. All right, away we go. So next thing on the agenda, I cracked myself up. 40 Lake Street, JT Whitmore Properties, for a sign, painted sign in the window. Is there anybody there to represent this?
I don't think so.
Okay. So were there any questions or concerns from any commissioners on the application?
I didn't have any.
I think finding fact will help clarify, we're just talking about applied sign to the glass.
Right.
That's it. That is it.
It was mocked up in the image that was sent.
Yep. Yep. Pretty well mocked up. I mean, the images were really helpful.
What I have for finding of facts is window sign for Golden Beauty Company. Tenant is Natasha Bistel. It's a 24-inch by 36-inch clear vinyl sticker with gold lettering. Will be centered in the main storefront window. No change to awning, no change to front door.
Okay.
Say, I was expecting them to have another sticker in the front door, but it didn't have anything listed.
Yeah. None of this in violation of any of the guidelines, or there's no lighting involved. It's really just a sticker on glass, and at best it's equal to paint because it's a temporary thing. So I didn't find any reason to question any of it. Does anybody else have a comment?
I'll make a motion to approve the finding of fact.
Okay, second? Ira? Okay, all in favor? Phoebe, I didn't see your hand. Did you were in favor? Okay, and then opposed? 0 and one abstain. All right. Any discussion on the certificate? Okay, let's have a motion to approve the certificate of appropriateness. I need a motion.
So moved.
Okay, second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? One abstain. Okay, and give me that certificate and I will sign it and send it over to code and get that process going. All right, so now we are, and thanks for being patient. Now we're back to 275 Front Street, an update and further discussion from Kim and Mike.
We've got a happy crowd here.
Yes. Thank you.
Like a very long
If you're done.
Kim, can I get your
I'm gonna go have dinner now.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, Kathy. You don't have to stay.
He can't see it.
Thank you. Yes, I wanted to add that.
Hey, Mike, don't worry about me. I have all your drawings in front of me. So make sure the commissioners, the physically present commissioners, can see. Don't worry about your easel pointing towards me or anything.
Yeah, I kind of figured you can't see it
Okay.
from the camera back there.
Yeah.
You're for this.
You want to see some of Kim's drawings? You probably have.
I saw the rendering.
We have a picture.
Yeah, I have seen that. I sent that to FEMA to try to get enough on the video.
Ah,
Mine getting there.
okay.
The owner,
Are you muted?
Kim Trahan,
You're not muted.
5 Front Street, along with Ron Ketchum is the contractor. Brought Ron
How come
along
we can't hear them?
to bail us out with specific details. But, and this gives him an update on our process as well. So we met last time in January, presented our schematics, the initial concepts of what's going on here. If you recall, the original house was built in 1805 in the federal style, did not have this front portico or the pediment, and there were multiple additions. A side porch was added, I think, back in 1955, and then there was the rear additions. What was the rear addition? 1848. Yeah.
1848. And then the garage is in 2000, but that's not part of it.
Right. So since then, we've been uploading to keep SHPO appraised of our progress, and they've been very appreciative of that. And we're in the stage now of completing our preliminary plans. So as the process goes, we have to submit schematics, preliminaries, and then our finals. FEMA doesn't review it until they get the finals, which I don't get, but so they depend on you and your comments. Certainly, we'll lean back on SHPO for their review before they issue their final comments. And they may come back and say, we need to tweak something along the way. But we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's as we go, certainly. The house is going to be raised 3 feet to get us up above the high water mark, basically, from the flood. And the foundation and the garage will not be raised. So the garage, as Kim indicated, was built in 2000. So it was built as a separate structure. It is connected, but that could be separated from the house, obviously, when it's being lifted, and then it'll be reattached
After it's lifted.
and they'll do some, fix the shingles and get some flashing and so on, and at that junction.
There is a considerable amount of damage to this wall, this corner, this wall. So there's going to be repair.
Some repair work, and we'll add some steps inside the garage, obviously.
To go from the garage to the
2
house.
feet. Yeah, and then Kim has asked even for us to consider the potential to put a handicap lift in, or will it fit to get up to that little porch level, because that'll be her main access into the house, basically from the man door inside the garage.
But again, that won't be visible.
Right, that's
from
all,
the exterior, it's all
that's
gonna be inside the
interior,
garage.
right.
And the repairs you're gonna make to that corner of the house, repaired in kind,
Oh,
pressure treated wood, or,
match the siding.
okay,
Yeah, siding's all natural wood
at the
clapboard
moment.
siding.
Now,
Yeah,
this
that's gonna
stuff
remain.
that's currently like your front porch skirting board sitting on the ground, you're gonna have something underneath that,
Right.
right?
So if you look at the simulation here, kind of a before and after picture of the house as it exists, with that trim board basically sitting at grade, and the house obviously raised, and the panelization of the skirting, if you will, for the finished product. So that porch actually was rebuilt in 2020. Right, 2020. with mahogany deck, tongue and groove decking. All pressure treated framing was added. I think it's all 2x10 framing, and there's a rim joist that basically acts as a beam, and it was attached back to the foundation on the house side of the porch. The fascia board is like an AZAC or a synthetic wood product that was actually installed in 2020. And that's,
What did you call it?
AZAC is a manufacturer, composite, yeah,
Material.
composite lumber. And I don't know exactly what Ron will use, but it'll be a 1x material. Realistically, it'll be probably 5/8 inches in thickness.
The thing I liked about AZEC is that they actually make the boards in architecturally appropriate sizes.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So it's not just the standard Trex boards. It's got
Different sizes you could use.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it-
5/4,
5/4.
Well,
which means inch.
And is it like you said a cementitious, like a composite cement?
it's a composite, yeah. It's like a plastic wood
Okay.
essentially, but it's paintable.
So in other words, it can sit on the ground and not rot.
Correct. Yep. It will need cleaning on occasion, but this is south facing and it can be painted, but it comes white.
Right.
So it probably would not be painted unless you wanted to change that white color to a eggshell or some other finish, right?
The column bases
The bases.
were made of Trex, and they are really
And those are great condition. If you recall, the columns are not structural. When the roof was replaced, it cut the panels out. So those columns, if you remove the capitals, you could push them over. There's nothing in them to support the rest of the roof, which is really unusual. But considering how old this house is, it's amazing that even with the snow load, they provide any structural support.
Planning on adding that or you can just leave it as is?
So, the basement, will be, everything in the basement structurally be shored up. All the joists, for example, there's some 2x6 joists, floor joists, which are not significant. And they're further compromised because when they attach them to the beam, they actually notched them. So some of them are actually splitting at that juncture, albeit they've been there for 200 years, right? So we're gonna sister in additional 2x6s to those, to basically shore them up with pressure treated. And there's gonna be additional posts, some additional posts, pressure treated posts that'll be installed on concrete footings at various locations where the posts are now. Because when the additions were put in, the framing was different, may change, and it runs in an opposite direction, for example. The sill plate is shot, so obviously that's going to be replaced. When the house gets raised, they're going to peel off, as much as a foot of the natural stone that was laid in there, and put in a 3 to 4 foot concrete foundation. Okay, we're looking at using ICFs, right? Which is a stackable styrofoam form, if you will, that allows you to put rebar into it to provide additional structural strength in the foundation wall. So, and that also gives us the advantage of attaching a scrim board and doing our veneer. So the exterior of the foundation wall on the driveway side is going to get a natural stone veneer that's going to be close replica of what the stone is now. It's more of a stacked stone that's exposed there. kind of see it.
Yeah, that little
It's
side
small
you've got.
Yep, yeah, there's only about a foot that's exposed now, but obviously when the house gets raised, we're gonna see more of that foundation.
Now, you were talking about, I know last time you came in, you talked about using the stone that you're removing to shore up the foundation.
Probably
Are you
not,
gonna still do that, or are you gonna use a different?
probably because it's aged and it's been weathered, we don't know what condition it's really in, and most of what gets removed is gonna be removed because it's probably been exposed to a lot of weather at that grade,
Okay.
you know, rain and snow and so on.
So the whole idea is to make, as the house goes up and comes back down, it's gonna come back down on a poured concrete foundation. But then we're gonna, whatever fieldstone I have in the yard, and I have a lot, and anything we salvage out of anything there, that's gonna be cut to make like
Tiles.
almost like tiles
Yeah.
that are gonna be attached as a,
It'll be mortared in, they'll be stacked and mortared in place so that it's, you know, it's permanent.
so
Okay,
it looks like that.
and the foundation wall will have a ledge, if you will, just above grade, a couple inches above the finished grade of the driveway that provides that brick ledge or that veneer ledge to support the weight of the veneer, because it's all real stone, so it has weight to it as opposed to like a cultured stone. It's
Right. That could
more
be.
of a synthetic lightweight product. I'm just hesitating using what's been sitting in your backyard because,
Yep.
you know,
Whatever
those,
can be used.
they could be brittle. We don't know how old it is. Obviously, aged fieldstone is hundreds of years old. But it needs to be cleaned too. And so sometimes it's easier to get it shipped on a pallet and then they go to town, start to cut it. And that way we have more control on the quality of it. Not to say that we can't use what you have for step stones and things like that. We'll have to see quality wise what the condition is.
Was there talk about maybe using them as planters? Possibly
I
as
think
well.
that's.
Stack them along the driveway or
Oh.
there was a lot of discussion about you're gonna try to reuse them wherever you could.
Well, we're gonna do a
If you
bluestone
vary.
steps and a bluestone curb. Okay, so this will be a cut piece of bluestone in a 4-inch wide curb, if you will, 12 inches deep, so that we can get it mudded into concrete. And that becomes a step up, so that allows us to pick up close to 5 or 6 inches right off the edge of the driveway with our first step. And the step up over the curb to get to the stairs that go into the side of the house.
I think
Okay.
I have that already existing. The new front steps to the porch from the front sidewalk and driveway, bluestone, dressed,
Bluestone.
central landing constructed.
Mhm.
2 feet of skirting added to the elevated front porch, skirting made of pressure treated wood and square, picture frame lattice.
Yes.
You're not gonna use a diagonal lattice, you're gonna use the square.
It'll be an English cut.
Yeah. So you had talked about a product that you're familiar with.
Yeah, it's a vinyl product that's, they call it welding, but it's basically, it's glued in like a shiplap. And these are like 3/8 inch, vinyl straps, if you will. And it gives you that, that square English cut. And it comes in all different sizes of openings. This will be a little tighter weave, obviously. And we're gonna put a hardware cloth behind it so that critters can't obviously get through those openings. And it gives airflow under the porch, which is gonna be a good thing. In light of the fact that some of that's still the original wood, but not much of it in the framing of the porch.
There were 2 skeletons underneath the porch and when I did it.
Animal skeletons.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, clarify.
Okay, thank you.
Being recorded.
It was a possum.
Oh, no kidding.
Oh,
Yeah.
awesome. Two possums
Yeah,
on the
little,
porch.
little, underneath the porch.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Didn't get out.
Got 'em.
Couldn't get out.
Didn't get out, probably. Huh. So, going back to the foundation on the west side of the house, the other opposite side here, that's currently a hard concrete foundation. And we're gonna do the same with that. So again, the ICFs will be built up, there'll be a scrim mesh, skin coat that gets put on that, and then a parged coat that'll be put over top of that.
And that's on the west side.
That's on the west side.
So
Yep.
I've got that noted in here.
So it's not very visible, there's landscaping, some of this landscaping will be removed, but there's a landscape back here. We're gonna add more plants or replace what comes out with some smaller understory plants, and then probably a redbud tree. There'll also be some fill on that side of the house, so that instead of a 3-foot exposed foundation, we'll probably have about 18 inches. And that allows us to improve the drainage, get the drainage away from the house, and create more of a swale out here, closer to the property line.
And I have a
Him and
I knew you were gonna ask.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and we submitted that to the town soon after our last meeting, so they've had it for a better part of a month or two.
You can clarify, the cellar is getting infilled completely, right?
Correct.
Gone.
Yep.
Swimming pool, it's
Yep, the whole basically under the house, the basement gets filled with stone, and then it gets capped with a concrete slab, 5-inch, 5-inch slab. So that's what remains under the house. It becomes a crawl space essentially, and there'll be a section, we'll have to determine for sure, but we'll have a panel that gets removed from the foundation that gives man access, to that crawl space if it's ever needed.
Yeah, and you're gonna, of course, be adding flood vents as appropriate.
Yep, the flood vents are shown in the structural plans, back in the back sections of those drawings. And they're evenly spaced, and they're placed at least 3 inches above what our finished grade will be. So if we have this planter on this side of the house, with a 6-inch curve, it'll be 3 inches above that, essentially. So, and how they work is as the floodwaters rise, the pressure of the water basically opens the vents and allows that water to fill in below the house. And again, everything below, between that new slab and the floor of the house is all going to be pressure treated.
Right.
So if it does get inundated, obviously it's temporary, but it'll be safe.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I've been looking over a lot of floodplain regulations and stuff. So you have to measure from the lowest horizontal measure to the first floor that somebody can stand on, not the floor that you're actually standing on. What you have on here for the lowest part of the house, I think, is in the kitchen. You have is it pantry? Where's that elevation on here? So it shows the living room portion and the kitchen portion, and so the pantry portion is in here and it's lower.
There's the kitchen, the pantries.
Pantry is
In this corner of the kitchen.
So what's going to be your newest, lowest walk-on thing that FEMA's going to measure for your
It's like
elevation?
814.1 plus 3.
Plus 3, right.
I think the lowest is 814.
It might be 14.7. I have to go back and check on the.
As long as you're paying attention to
Yeah,
it.
there's an elevation certificate that was issued early on by FEMA, actually, and then it had to be certified by a surveyor. So we had the local surveyor, Edsel, certify those elevations, and that's based on the high water mark, and then what was determined as the high water mark during the flood.
What does this activity do with the garage portion? Because that's lower and it stays, like, how is that gonna affect, like, if you raise the top half, are you still gonna be having to have an insurance problem with the garage?
Garage is on a slab, right? There's no foundation under it, and it remains as it is today. So if the garage floods, I mean, you do like you did last time.
Like
You clean it
it's
up.
like an accessory building, but it's still attached to the house. So
So will you have a problem with? I got, so flood insurance, are you talking about insurance?
Yeah, that like technically it's still a part of the structure. You're just
So
using it
my
as a garage.
Garage was not included in any of my flood insurance measurements.
Okay.
My proof of loss has nothing to do with the garage. They didn't accept that
Okay.
as part of flood damage.
Probably because it's not habitable space.
Yeah.
I think,
Okay.
right?
Okay, because because like your basement, if you're storing stuff like that, was
Right.
okay. Okay, so it's just treated as that, even though it's like just technically sort of attached to the house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
So the things in the only thing in the basement I think that's gonna be moved is the furnace, correct?
So furnace, hot water tank, water softener, we're all going up.
All going upstairs, yeah. So that we can fill it in, room for utilities, basement gets filled in.
You don't want to melt the entire wall.
Right, they could be
Yeah,
damaged.
I'd like to chime in right now. The guy on the wall would like to chime in. I want to make sure we're focused on what our duties here are. You know, we're looking at the designs to make sure that historic elements are maintained, that historic properties, if there's a repair to them, that they're repaired in kind or with, suitable materials. In terms of position of flood vents, unless they were interfering with some type of historic nature of the house, um, that could come into discussion. But we're really looking at like a street view and what's happening to historic features that may be removed or damaged with the elevation. So we need to, kind of keep our focus on that. We aren't code right now. We're looking at the historic elements. For example, we talk about concrete wall. We don't need to know how the concrete wall is created. We need to know how it's going to be finished off, which you already stated, right, Mike? You already went there. So, there's a lot of very interesting things that can come out in a conversation. However, our concern is, the before and after picture, which you gave us all that too, and just an explanation of the before and after. Does that make sense? We got into flood vents and all, and I thought, that's going on a deep dive someplace that we don't need to. We don't care. We do care. We aren't concerned with flood vents going into a garage. We aren't concerned with how many flood vents. We aren't concerned with square footage of flood vents. We're concerned if you're going to put a concrete wall in, which I know FEMA is that's their side of things because it prevents the old stone collapse on that wall. Prove to me that it's going to look like it belongs on a historic house, which you satisfied that already. So that's all. It's just a refocusing. That's all.
Thank you.
Yeah, I got in the weeds.
So to just move along with that, so the picture frame lattice that is under the front porch will also be under the side porch, that will match
To
Sam.
match.
Yes.
We've had this discussion about railings to the front porch, railings to the side, wait a minute, the steps to the side porch. So when I bought the house in 2000, there were no steps to that side porch, but there's a gate that was screwed shut. I opened the gate 7 or 8 years ago and just put stone,
The piece of stone.
But
Yeah, later stuff.
while it goes up, I'm gonna need stairs to that side porch. Otherwise, there's no exterior access, but it was built with exterior access. So the steps to the side porch, because it's not a primary porch, it doesn't need to be as formal as the stone steps. So the side porch should be wood steps with a metal railing.
Okay.
So the metal railing, I would like to disappear as much as possible. So as you have seen, my front fence is there are large 4x4 posts at corners, but there are other 2x2 posts, so something that size or even maybe smaller, solid with a wall cap that the fence has as the post for the simple strap that will go up to the porches. Very much like Jim and Julie's strap that goes up to the front porch. So that will be metal. And then we will talk about the sign porch that goes to the kitchen.
To the
This is
kitchen.
the driveway side.
Which would be of interest to you because it's visible from the street still. So the side porch is gonna be sets of stairs coming from both the front and the rear up to a landing.
Right.
And the door will exit out on the landing, because we still have to fit the driveway in. We are able to slide the driveway is kind of skewed to the property line. We're actually gonna be able to move the driveway as much as 2 feet away from the house, build it out, which gives us a little bit more room for that stair access and that landing for that side door. So there'll be 5 risers to the landing. They'll all be stone treads, blue stone treads, with the stone veneer risers below the treads, and then
Same as the foundation.
correct, and then the outside face facing the driveway basically is also going to be the same stone veneer. So that'll probably be built up with the same forms as we're going to use for the foundation, and the whole thing will sit on a concrete slab. So that whole mass of stairs basically will sit on a slab or float, what we call a float, as opposed to having a footing under it. The grade below it would be it's going to be about 12 inches of stone fill. That's going to be heavily compacted before the slab gets poured, and it's a reinforced slab.
To highlight, the stone step that is there now is a laid up stone base with a slate step. So even though the design of these stairs are certainly different than what's there now, it's still the same materials. It's still laid up stone with blue stone.
And the one stone actually has initials carved into it. So we're going to try to save that one, the larger stone, in the existing stoop to the kitchen door and reset that in that landing.
So you pointed to the other side of the house. There's no stairs on that side. Okay.
The side, my side,
Okay, gotcha.
that left side porch. The one
It's just when you pointed it to a picture.
Yeah.
It's the
side
yeah,
porch here.
yeah. That's the front porch, no? There's
No,
another
this
porch.
is
Oh, it's
another
in my head it's a
additional
wraparound.
tiny
It's
little-
around the side.
Oh, okay, gotcha. There's no steps to
It's
that.
There are
reset.
steps. There'll be
Right.
some. You just see them right there.
Oh, okay, got it.
There'll be wooden steps up to that porch.
Okay.
And then metal rail.
Yeah, and then from the front walkway, there'll be some stepping stones, basically flagstone, that'll be set in the lawn to provide access to the porch.
Okay, got it.
We want to minimize that, and provide hierarchy to the front door versus the side door.
Yeah. And this one, with the simulation makes it clear to see. Yeah, gotcha. Okay, cool.
And can you bring that one up?
Yeah, the big one.
Yeah, the bigger
Big
one.
It's this. See, there's steps up
Right.
in the driveway, there's gonna be a step up in the sidewalk.
And then this is the other steps.
Right,
Right
and then there's
there,
a little step.
This is more of the landing. This looks like a row house, like you see and stuff.
Exactly.
Do you?
What?
The picture of the stockade.
But here's a good example.
That tree's not very
That's what you're talking about, like that.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Yes.
even the colors, I would say.
Pretty similar
Right.
style.
So the metal railing that is going to be on that kitchen step is going to be, again, the same posts as my front fence with a strap and balusters.
Yeah, what I have in the finding of fact access, and metal stair railings to be added on each
But then when you lift
side.
it up, you see-
Railing will be similar to the current front sidewalk metal fence design.
The detail doesn't quite show that yet. I mean, those are the details we finished between now and the 100%.
This is a stair in the historic stockade section, and it's gonna be, other than.
That's kind of what it's gonna look like.
Mhm.
You're gonna have steps going this way, right?
No,
Both ways.
same
both
idea.
Both ways
Yeah, like here.
Oh, I thought.
to a landing.
So.
On those stairs, they'll be similar to that, but she wants.
It's there, it's just
Right.
not.
So right now, I have access to my door from both sides. So I'm gonna maintain that access even though I'm up.
Right.
Nice. I'm gonna take off my porch and do that. Cause I have the same thing two ways, but we just keep painting it. No, you're good. I just wanted to help you. No?
Oh, okay.
You had mentioned concrete slab, when you said it, earlier, an application put in front of us about concrete. You were talking about it's a floating slab for the side entrance. Can you just explain that a little bit more? Why is there concrete there?
Because the way the walls and the steps are being built up, the ICF forms, it's almost like using concrete block. It's modular. So, and it has to turn corners and so on. So you want that whole mass of stairs and landing to be one unit. It should all move all together. If it ever settles or whatever, you don't want differential settlement, where you can get a crack that'll form and water gets in. So the intent is that it keeps those stairs as one unit essentially, and everything is built up off of that slab in this case.
And it abuts the house, but doesn't attach to the house.
Correct.
So it can freeze and thaw, is kind of what he's saying, and then.
Right,
So-
right. It can move. Yeah. Every little,
We are gonna.
most likely. And the ground is saturated a lot, even though we're moving a lot of moisture away from the house, you still get some differential movement, in the ground.
And that slab acts as the foundation though.
Right.
And the stone comes up above that, and all the treads.
Right. Right.
Everything approved in one piece.
Yep. As opposed to attaching it to the existing foundation. If it moves, it'll generally speaking, it'll settle back to where it started from. But you may get a quarter inch or so movement, rise in that in the winter, and then it basically will go back down. We're trying to keep our risers at about a 6-inch rise on those steps, because we have to get back to grade before we get to the back corner of the house. So we don't want the last step to be just beyond the corner of the house, essentially. So we're playing around right now with the riser tread ratio.
That's pretty close to a normal riser.
Yeah, it's very good. A lot of risers are 7 inches actually.
Yeah.
So
Like small.
since Kim has shorter legs, you want to give
They're
her
not in good
every
shape.
advantage to get up and down those stairs.
So what other design element questions do you have that is important to,
Because we went through the whole thing last time. The only thing we didn't have information on was this porch part. So I
Wasn't there
think,
something else that we asked them to do?
yeah, what else did
I
we
read
ask
it today, but it's out of my brain. There were two things that,
There's a floodplain permit
right.
and the porch
Do
skirting.
you have the floodplain? That's hard
We
to
do,
say.
we do, and we turn that.
see it?
Mike and Kim, maybe you could, the guy on the wall behind you, maybe what you could do is just to give us an idea on our approval level. We're probably the smallest player that you have to deal with for this, enormous project. To maybe give us an overview on your approval project, and not divulging the actual finances, but what you have to go through to get, FEMA approval, New York State approval, just so we're all clear on that, so we know kind of our role. And I'd like you to do that so that I can better define what our certificate process is going to be, because it's an enormous thing. You're not replacing a porch. So maybe just an overview, if you would.
Okay. So as I mentioned earlier, we're in the preliminary plan phase now, and then we'll complete these plans, say in the next month, as our finals. So FEMA wants us to submit our preliminaries. They'll look at them. They may come back with a few comments, but they really don't spread them around to additional staff until they get the finals. So everything rests on the finals, which is really unusual in this case. But like I said earlier too, we've submitted everything along the way to SHPO. And SHPO in their portal, people will look at it, different qualified individuals in their office, and they make comments. They put their comments in that portal so we can actually review them. So far, they've been very amicable to what we've given them. FEMA has an agreement with SHPO where FEMA won't look at SHPO's comments until, again, the finals are submitted. And FEMA apparently has jurisdiction because they're federal over the state agency. So if SHPO comes back and says something that FEMA doesn't like, it's very possible that FEMA will just discard it. It's possible. I don't know if that happens too often or not. But, so to answer your question, Jim, basically everything hinges on the finals.
Right.
They won't look at the SHPO. SHPO actually already came back and said, we're at a point we can approve this. We can give you our letter of I forget what they call it, but it's
Certification.
certification. And FEMA came back and says, whoa, we can't rely on that right now. We have to go through our process and wait until the finals are received before we reach back out to SHPO for their comments. So, but SHPO certainly relies on your comments. This is local. You're tuned into the details as much as anybody, and you're. It's not like you're the lowest on the totem pole. I think you have a pretty good eye on what we're doing, and you're part of the process too, because SHPO has to rely on your comments, and then FEMA in turn will look at those comments as well. And we need your certification also, to load into the SHPO Chris, which again FEMA will look for when they finally get into it and review it.
Okay.
Somebody needs to write a manual about
How to do this?
how to
Yeah.
do this.
It's a different process than often we're used to, but it's still a process. And and that's why we want to make these submissions and get the feedback so that when we do put our 100% in, we know that we pretty much covered every detail.
Jim, I think we've got enough information to approve it.
Yeah, I do too. Laura had a question. I just saw Laura's hand.
Yeah, on the very front of what we'll see when it's built, you show on the plans that you'll have lattice in these small sections. Oh, I can see it in here. So it didn't say what the lattice material was or the sizing.
Yeah, this is a decision we've just made recently that we don't want to have to. Kim doesn't want to have to paint it, so we're going to go with that vinyl product. Okay, and I can submit that as a separate cut sheet if you want. I was gonna bring a sample and I forgot to grab it. But it's a very durable product, and it's easy to install, and it's not like the cheap flat lattice that you see at Lowe's or Home Depot. It all comes in, it's all one layer. this has dimension to it, so it'll have some shadow lines and it's durable. It's very durable.
So it's a composite
It's a composite
material that's gonna be
material.
similar to the composite material that is at the lower level of
Correct,
porches.
correct. Yeah, it's
So it's an
cellular.
alternate, whatever Jim was saying, that alternate material thing.
Yeah.
It's not an AZAC product. It's actually a extruded vinyl product, and it is structural, but it's hollow. You know, the members are, you know, you can blow air through it or whatever, but you can see there's webbing in there too. Okay, which gives it additional structural strength.
So everything that's about 3 foot, first 3 feet are really weather resistant or composite materials. that
In the
you're using.
front, yeah, and around the side porch as well. Yeah,
Porch decks, thing could remain as they are now, right? Material.
yeah, it's
And
all
the
new.
substructure is material.
Yeah, so this is basically just the finish
Jim?
facade of it.
Can you ask Kim when she goes for SHPO approval?
Very good.
Okay.
Okay, so that's good. So Mike, just a question relative to this is just about the lattice. You know, it's a vinyl lattice. It's a composite material which now SHPO is approving. Was that in the description that you said SHPO was ready to go forward on? Was
not
that
in-
product?
Yeah, because we haven't submitted these preliminaries to SHPO yet.
Okay.
We're waiting to get through this meeting, and then we'll upload these drawings to SHPO.
Okay.
And that's a small change that we're gonna make between now and when we upload them.
I have a question.
Okay. Okay. So
My question is, we have to submit everything to Dishes, who then provides to FEMA, who then provides to SHPO.
SHPO, right.
So
Yeah,
it's
right.
convoluted process.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, and part of that is the acronym OHPC has to give a COA for your PROJECTS. Yeah.
Kind of like that, yeah. Yeah.
So here's a question for the commission and for Mike and for Karen. I haven't heard any like I don't like that comments out of any of the commissioners as you've described everything. So I would assume that that means everything you've shown us, everything you've talked about is within the historic preservation model that we're charged to protect. Our normal process is to say, let's redefining a fact. Well, you know, that would take Phoebe the next 5 hours to go through all the material that you've given us. So
I think I read it last time.
I think at this point, I think at this point, all of the historic elements you've told us about it doesn't seem like we disagreed with any, and people can argue that point with me right now. It seems like we could go forward with issuing a certificate of appropriateness for the historic elements of this major project. And I'm thinking we don't need a finding of fact in this case. We just need to have a certificate of appropriateness to the plans that were submitted to us. So we're kind of given a historic stamp of approval on the plans that really need to be in the hands of code, Dishes, FEMA, and SHPO as soon as possible. And, you know, if our prudence on taking care of that tonight can keep that project moving forward, I think I would advise that. I can't vote on it because I'm sitting in South Carolina, but that's something that we should quickly discuss if that's a good or a bad idea. If we're comfortable with that idea, uncomfortable.
So, the plans say preliminary plan 75% submission. Do we say something like, you know, assuming that, you know, go backward and the last 25%, right? That we're approving it and your intention is to go to the 100% with what we've discussed, but the plans are not 100% yet, right?
Right.
So how do we say that in a
Most
motion?
of the plans that go to Dishes next, it's structural stuff, isn't it?
Well,
It's not design.
It's not
no, it's everything. I mean, they'll get the whole set.
Right, but
basically.
what's missing, the 25% that's missing,
Some of it's structural, has
It's
to
not
do with the
necessarily
lifting
design.
plan. with the lifting plan, we can take it so far, and then we have to ask the contractor that does the lifting to provide a shop drawing,
Right.
okay? And, because they know their business better than anybody. And, we can't hire, Ron can't hire them because it's part of their phase 2. And no phase 2 can happen until phase 1 is approved. So,
I'm more speaking about the language of what we're doing with the certificate of appropriateness, right? I mean, I don't know how this, we must have
So
done this
again, that
before.
25% that you're talking about has nothing to do with design.
Yeah, so we don't have to worry about it.
it's more the finished notes on the
And I think
drawings.
it's gonna be similar to like what we did with Kathy Henke, where we approved her general design and then she brought back the specifics.
And what did we say? So we just said
So-
like sconces, right? So here we
Right,
say,
so we just did
lattice,
generic, it's,
right, so we
Yeah.
were, okay,
and we
all
knew
right.
the windows were
That's
gonna
cool.
be aluminum clad, just
Yeah,
like
you
the
could say
doors should be
contingent on
aluminum clad.
receipt of a cut sheet,
Something,
made
right? Just
or
in case, I
sample.
don't think you're gonna do anything.
Or we could say that any changes to these documents that are part of our purview
Have
and
to
are
come
already
back.
pre-approved have to come back. So if you
Right,
stick
which
with what
we
the
do
finding
say-
of fact is, what we're seeing here visually, everything, other than the flood vent locations and some of the minutia, everything that we can see from a public way, the materiality and the layout and all that stuff.
Right, read that, okay.
Yeah, and in every
Stays.
COA, we do say, any additional work or changes not described above will require further review by the OHPC.
Yeah, okay. so-
That's a good
So,
way to
all right,
approach it.
Always
that's-
got that
that's fine.
caveat in every COA.
Okay. All right, so, yeah.
If they do something different,
Yeah,
then
right.
suddenly you come in with.
Yeah, like if
So
we
if
came back and
Yes.
said, because of the budget, we have to replace the front steps with a wooden stair. That's
Material.
material. That's something that you definitely would want to be aware of.
Come back, we do an addendum.
Yeah.
It would be.
And you did some edits to the finding of
Yes.
fact here.
I
Maybe
would
you just
like-
highlight those.
Could you read it?
Jim, I would like to read the finding of facts again.
Okay.
Great. Excellent, excellent.
I've been editing it as they've been talking about what we've got. So, I know, it'll be.
Okay.
annoying. I'm gonna read it.
No, it's good.
Just so you know what we've got here. Right, so finding of facts, house structure, including chimney and porches to be elevated 3 feet above current level, surrounding to be graded for drainage away from the house and neighboring homes. New front steps added to the front porch from the sidewalk and driveway to be made of bluestone, dressed with central landing constructed of currently existing pathway stones, if possible. I'm gonna add that if possible, because we may be using something else.
So far, I found 14 paving stones that can be used.
Okay. So,
Charlie is like, ugh. But yes.
if possible. 2 feet of skirting will be added to the elevated front porch. This is what we were waiting for. Square skirting panels to be made of composite AZEC. Is it AZEC? I want to add a T in
Or
there.
as
I don't know,
as
that
if
you
like,
need- that's a
don't
brand
use the
name.
brand.
We don't want a brand.
I say,
Okay, so we're
yeah.
just going to say composite
Composite.
wood with square picture frame lattice with hardware cloth behind. Walkway to side porch, the southwest elevation made of currently existing fieldstone path stones. Laid in a gravel bed with new pressure treated wood stairs and metal railing. Side porch skirting will be matching the existing front porch skirting. New front porch. See, you read this and discover
It's also
things.
different when it's allowed.
Right. I think I've got it, and then I read it and I don't have it. All right, side porch skirting will match new front porch skirting. Existing landing stone on east driveway side will be elevated 3 feet to maintain access from both north and south by adding bluestone stone stairs on each side. Stairs to be
Bluestone
sited.
treads, you could say.
Bluestone treads.
Treads.
Thank you. On each side. Stairs to be sited with the same stacked stone as foundation. Metal stair railings added on each side. Railing will be similar to the current front sidewalk metal fence design. And then repair, rebuild wooden sill and old stacked stone foundation. Basement to be filled per FEMA guidelines. 6-inch stone planter will be added to east driveway side of house between driveway and front porch using the same material as foundation. Any exposed elevated foundation on east side to be covered with dressed fieldstone. Didn't I have something? Oh, there's another paragraph. Okay. West side, existing parged foundation may be repaired and new exposed elevated foundation covered with similar parged material. Ground will be built up around the foundation, so approximately 18 inches of the foundation will be exposed. Foundation will have flood vents added at appropriate intervals and crawl space access added in the back north, where existing Bilco doors will be removed. Driveway expanded 2 feet to the east, closer to the property line, no change to garage. Anything miraculous?
Applause, applause. You know what I would add to that, Phoebe? Now that I gave you a hassle, I would add to that. I think it's important to the preservation of this building that the columns in the porch, the porch surface, which Kimmy just redid, and the columns, nothing's going to happen to those. And I think that's important to put in there that the porch and the columns. I don't know how you describe this. Maybe Jeff can come up with a good architectural terminology, but the whole front porch area, we're only elevating that porch. We aren't changing anything about that porch, right?
Right.
That makes sense?
I'll just say no change.
Yeah, existing porch materials will be maintained.
Right.
There you go.
Oh, that's a good.
There it is.
The only thing I heard in there is sometimes you might want to say which porch, like by direction. Like so front porch south and side porch west elevation, and then side porch east elevation, just so that you have each porch's with its location.
So existing materials on the front porch south and side porch west will be maintained. Do
There you
want
go.
to add the driveway? Because we are doing different on the driveway.
That's the new side porch.
Yeah, the driveway side porch is
Yeah,
going to be different.
that'll be new.
Stone stoop, is it even a porch?
Yeah, it's
Oh,
not
it's a stoop. Yeah, it's a stoop.
Yeah, stone stoop entry, and we've already got a paragraph on that, so. Right.
Anything else?
West elevation.
Well, that was pretty good, Phoebe. I commend you for that. So based on the finding of fact, can I have a motion to approve the finding of fact for the scope of the work?
So moved, yes.
Okay, second? Ira? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None, abstained, one. Okay, now the certificate, to issue the certificate, any further discussion about the issuing of the certificate of appropriateness? And we should read the seeker information and all the other information before we proceed on this.
Yeah, all the stuff, other stuff. Okay, if I can get there. Wait a second as I copy and paste. Okay. Seeker information. So pursuant to the Village of Owego Code, Chapter 126, Preservation, adopted February 19th, 2019, the OHPC approves issuance of a certificate of appropriateness for application 2024 40104-1 based upon finding of facts derived from the submitted application documents for 275 Front Street. This references the OHPC design guidelines from 2019, pages 6 through 13, masonry, windows and doors, roofing and gutters, porches, entryways, and decks, and as well as the Secretary of the Interior standards for the treatment of historic properties from 2017, pages 32 through 50, foundations, windows, porches, roofs, and porches. And this is pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review. It has been determined by the OHPC this proposal constitutes type 2 action as defined under the CRRNY. Any additional work or changes not described above will require further review by OHPC. Issuance of the COA or village building permit does not guarantee SHPO approval for New York State federal tax credits. And all work will be conducted according to applicable village code.
Okay,
So, thank you.
Okay, so do I have a motion to approve the certificate of appropriateness?
Make that motion to approve certificate of appropriateness
Okay,
for 265 Front
and a
Street.
second? Yeah,
Second.
we have a second? Okay, all in favor?
I,
Opposed? Abstained, one.
okay.
Okay, so Kim and Mike, Phoebe will get that certificate to me. I'll put a signature on it, and then that goes to code. So you're done with us unless changes are made, as it states in the, the end of that document. And, keep us up to date, even if it's just to come into our meeting and tell us what's happening in terms of the work, if there's a change in material and so on, we would like to know that. So, and I will also I'll send a copy of that certificate off. We have a new contact. I have a new contact at SHPO that I've been working with on several projects. I'll send a letter and the certificate off to them, just so that all hands are on deck and that everybody knows what's going on at SHPO.
Terrific. Thanks,
All right.
everyone.
Thank
Appreciate it.
you
Right.
very much. Thank you for
All
all
right.
the materials and the great descriptions. Very
That's
helpful.
great.
Detailed information, yes, very helpful. And then, just make sure you pass on the password to our preservationist so we can come on the job site when Ron's working, right?
There'll be
Uh,
drums there.
That's all right, we're just there to look at the old building anyway.
Ron is sitting there. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Announcing me, I don't have to worry about anything. I trust him.
He's a man to his word.
Nothing to it.
All right, what else have we done?
Okay, everybody, that's good work. So informal discussion on past approved projects or potential new ones. There is a potential new one. Let me go to give you the address. I got to go back to my email quickly.
That's okay. I'm trying to catch up on my notes.
Where are we? There we are. 97 Front Street. So Chris Stevens sent a letter to me saying that is under new ownership. It was actually, I've been communicating with a potential owner for quite a while, talking about historic tax credits and what work they need to take pictures of and get approved ahead of time before they did. And something happened. I'm not sure that this is pertinent, but it's good information to keep in mind. Something happened that the seller backed out 2 weeks using the excuse or the reasoning that because they couldn't find a contractor to do the outside work, that the seller pulled back, but evidently it's been sold because they have surveyors and action going on in the house. So that's one to kind of keep an eye on. And you guys are the boots on the ground, and I'm not. So 97 Front Street, and it must be close enough to Chris Stevens that she can see that. So that's
Are
that's
they
the future.
Are they just under contract right now, or has it actually?
I wish I could answer that. I don't know. I was the last name was Fleischer, and you remember we had what was his name? Fleischer, Alec Fleischer, who did the house at the end of Front Street going on to Fifth Avenue, the blue house. The young kid that did such good work on that house. It's the same last name, Kendra Fleischman or Fleischer. I've been talking with her via email for several weeks now to try to line up contractors and talk to her about the historic tax credits, et cetera, et cetera. And she was all on board. And then she sent me a message, I guess, over the weekend that all bets are off because the seller pulled out.
Oh,
So anyway, that,
not the buyer?
yeah, yeah.
Now, I'm pulling up the picture of 97 Front Street. Lovely, lovely photo. Google photos with full leaves on the trees, but it's the Queen Anne on the Front Street with the giant curved porch that needs to be completely repaired.
Right, right. And I guess the front porch needs a lot of work, according to Chris Stevens, and she's concerned that, that porch is worked on and not destroyed kind of thing. So we're aware of it, and I will, I'll make Mick aware of that email as well. I just got it tonight from Chris. So I'll make him aware too, so he can keep his eyes on it, that somebody doesn't buy it and start tearing things apart.
Yeah, or you can
So
set up,
that,
introduce yourself, let him know any permits, who he is. All right, that'll be helpful.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's that one. Any next thing on the agenda is new business from anybody? Old business we kind of took care of today. And I think all of you know I sent you a letter right after the board meeting that um, the 289 Front Street owner showed up at the board meeting and tried to get the board to overturn action that we'd made, but we hadn't made action on the house, so we had to bring it up for another vote tonight. And that was the discussion we had with Cindy. So I already sent a statement to the Board of Trustees on how we make our decisions and how we would have made a decision on that, and then our logic for tabling it at the time. But now I'll make it more formal that this is why we did not issue a certificate of appropriateness for this property. So I'll formalize that and CC all of us on that so we're all aware. Okay, so that's the old business. Let's go right to the chair report. So I'm sorry, but I won't be there in April. I thought I was going to be home in time for the April meeting, but I'm going to miss it by a couple of days. So I'll be remote again in April. I don't know if that's bad news or really good news for you, but it's news. SHPO, we had a change of the guard. Linda Mackey, who I've worked with since I've been chairman, she's been very good. She's now gone private sector with another historic preservation company, and her replacement is Frances Stern. So I've already introduced myself to Frances Stern, and yeah,
Was she Francis something else? Did she
I
get
don't know.
married or two? I feel like I've worked with a Francis.
There's two Francis.
There's two Francis. Okay, never mind.
Okay.
It's
Well, and Linda said that she's better than me, I think was her statement and all. But anyway, so that's that news. 81 North Avenue. And as a reminder, 81 North Avenue is the ugly building that's right next to the Harris Diner. The building that's been abandoned, and Kim Trahan was here. That's the building that she was involved with. The owner, who is out of town, lives someplace in the city, and that building, the land bank, is going to take over that building. So I've been in communication with Megan Schnabel at the land bank and Tioga Development, Economic Development, getting her pictures of what the building used to be, the historic significance. I've worked with Peter Gordon on that. I'm not sure what all that means and what the land bank intends to do with the building, but that's just information for us to keep an eye on the building, and I'll keep you up to date as Megan's information kind of filters into me. You hope it's structurally sound enough to preserve the building, because to take that building down really violates not a law, but violates the Harris Diner, because it's directly connected to that, and you'd have to leave a retaining wall, and it'd be kind of an eyesore. So I'll keep you up to date on that.
Yeah, it's sticky on many levels. Should be in good
Yeah.
shape. Should have been all over those people for years and years and years and years and years. Sorry, but yeah, we can have an offline conversation about that project.
Yeah. Yeah. I know Kim had some threats, made on her when the action was taken by OHPC. So yeah. So anyway, I'll keep you up to date on that. To give Megan Schnabel credit, she's really good about communicating things and making sure we're within the loop. And it's it's land bank. It's not a DRI project. It's a land bank thing. So that's it's a different animal that way. And then the last thing I have for you is the preservation brief, the use of substitute materials. You see that in your agenda. That was a mess. I don't know if you guys logged on. I logged on the minute the speaker started. I got nothing, and I kept, sending through chat to them and through emails. I'm not getting anything. I don't know if anybody else is. And
I was the whole time. Yeah, I was fine. Oh, that's interesting. That's you.
you were fine. Yeah, maybe it's a Mac thing.
I was fine on it. Yeah.
No kidding. Well, they changed it to a Zoom format the next time, and because I was not alone. There were enough people that didn't get through to that they opened up another meeting on the 25th of April. So if you weren't able to see that, that's there. So one more thing, in light of all that, and Laura will be glad to hear this. So I'm working on the CLG report for the Village of Owego. So we have to annually submit a report to New York State on the actions that we do to maintain our CLG status, and it's all the commission's work. So I have to submit your names, your resumes. I also have to submit what hours you've put in for training. So if you've logged into any of these online webinars that I've sent you, I'm going to send you a reminder email to say, tell me which ones and the estimated hours you spent on that, so I can report that. We're required to do hours of training is part of being a commissioner. So whatever we've done, if you've only done one and you've got like 1 hour in so far, that's fine. I just have to report on that. All right.
Now, sorry, I missed, who are we reporting this to?
You're reporting it to me. You're going to tell me, and then I'll put it in my report to SHPO.
CLG, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I.
Yeah, and it's important that, I do that and we maintain that to, the village to keep the CLG status. That keeps the DRI going. And, it's important for us because I think we're going to write one more grant to finish the inventory. That the inventory isn't going to be able to be completed with the number of hours I put in the original grant. So I'm gonna write for extended monies on that to get that going. And so having our CLG stuff in place kind of helps that process move along. That makes sense. All right.
Yeah, the mayor gave me the official CLG documents to bring here tonight, so I'll hand it over and you can put it in the folder.
Okay.
And so, how it reads is that the annual report is due, but also this is the year that Jim will be doing this 4-year audit also. It's the
Yeah.
annual report and the 4-year audit. And so the annual report covers like all the decisions that you made with their seekers and stuff, so the state has this record. And then the audit covers what your qualifications are and how often you're meeting, and that what rules you're going by. Have there been any change to the design guidelines, to the maps? And you're just telling them like what's your current status? Like, has anything changed? And yeah, and so that's the deal. And it's just keeping your status as a CLG, which gets the village all kinds of grants for historic preservation. And that's how we are able to get the DRI and the Main Street programs, because we have this. So thank you for doing this, so we can get.
There you go. That's
Jim,
good.
we got Phoebe's got all the notes and stuff.
I'm trying to keep up here.
I know that when Nadine had to do it 4 years ago, there was 2 pieces of information she had to get off of the county.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, Elaine
Yep.
Jardine was able to answer them.
Yep. I've got most things. For your qualifications, I have to give them your resume, and all of you submitted a resume when you were asked to be a commissioner. So I have those. Already.
Maybe Nadine has a copy of that submittal that she did 4 years ago that you can use as a template.
I'll look.
Yeah, I think.
I probably have something.
Yeah.
I may have.
Yeah.
In the paper records.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a lightweight task, but it's it comes with the territory.
Right.
All right. So we don't have any public left for public comment.
No, all the public went home.
All right. So if there's nothing else, someone needs to make a motion to adjourn at 8:49.
There we go.
Second. Okay. All approved. Yeah. All right. All in favor. Opposed, 1 abstain. All right, all thanks for everything you do. And Phoebe, you know, it's kind of important this time, get the certificates to me so I can sign them and move them forward. All right?
I'm gonna try to see if I'll get them to you tonight.
Okay.
Thanks, take
So
care.
All right.
email.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you in a month. And yeah, keep an eye on your email for stuff coming through.
You got it. 15
All righty.
days.
All right. Yeah,
You want
have a
this
good
to-
evening. Bye-bye.
Stop recording.
Stevie, do you want this?